What's going on, everyone? Thanks for stopping by. I hope you're having a good day. This is Josh of Alternate Union, and we are here in Kerbal Space Program land. This video's been a long time in the making. A few months back, I made a video. It's actually become one of my most popular ones. It's basically how to get to the moon in Kerbal Space Program. It was supposed to be a two-part video, and I did part one, and it was well received. Like I said, became one of my most popular. I think it was top 5 videos. And since then, I had it on my laptop at the time, and unfortunately I sold my laptop, and I thought I'd transfer everything over, but I forgot part 2 of the video, so I lost it, and I didn't want to redo it. However, I'm going to redo it right now. I'm going to do my best. I haven't played this game in a while. You can see the game has changed a lot since I last played it. So we are going to go ahead and attempt to make it to the moon. I could probably make it to the moon. I can't say for sure that I'm able to make it back home. It's been a really long time, but we're gonna give it a shot. So right now we are just making the lander. I'm gonna try and make it similar to what I had it at when I did the last video. I might just edit this video out and I might just edit the video out and do it in a couple parts. I don't know for sure. So right now we're just making the lander. So that's our lander. Now we're going to add the computer to that. And we need the now I am going to put a small RCS tank on here. And control our RCS thrusters. Some tanks here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess I should give you some instructions on what I'm using here. RCS thrusters is so that if you have RCS on, it uses little thrusters to help you turn. We're going to be having this whole big ship in orbit and hopefully going to the moon with it. So you're going to need to have, it's got a lot of weight, so you need some thrusters to help you turn it. And it needs its own little tank. Created the orbiter. It's pretty straightforward. You can see all the parts in the basically propulsion and in the utility tab. You can see the landing ladders and stuff. Tanks, I am using Rockomax X232 fuel tanks. There are 16 and there is a 64. This one I find overheats really fast, so I don't like to use it. So we're going to make the main engine here. So we're going to use the 1500, the Rockomax mainsail liquid engine. Okay, and so that's our main rocket. So now we have to add what's called asparagus staging, and basically what's going to happen here is we're going to have 4 tanks around. I think in the last video I only had 2, but we're going to have 4 tanks surrounding the main tank, and there's going to be 2 tanks on either side, so a total of 4. 2 tanks on either side, a total of 4, so the two opposing ones are going to feed fuel into the other 2 opposing ones, who's going to feed fuel into the main one, and then basically we'll discharge the ones as they get empty, and that's going to not only save us, make the ship much more efficient, but it's also going to, yeah, basically make us more efficient. I guess that's it in a nutshell. So we're going to add a few tanks here off to the sides. It's going to make us more efficient because it's going to make us lighter, basically, because when I'll explain it more after we get ready to launch here. So we're going to use the same T200 tanks. You probably don't need to. I'd rather have too much fuel than not enough, 'cause. obviously. So now we got the main structure complete. So now we have to So now what we have to do is support it. So we're going to go to the structural tab, down here, AES4 strut connector, connect that. Each external tank to the main rocket. It doesn't have to be perfect. Apparently it can have an effect, but it's minimal. And then we're going to attach this strut to this tank, and this strut to this tank. What I like to do is I like to go down, especially because we're going to have really big powerful engines here, is I'll attach just like that, and do the same on this side. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If you're really OCD, you can. I am kind of OCD, but it doesn't really matter in this case. Why is that not working? Okay. Alright, and then you can also, even if you want to, go ahead and do one at the bottom. But don't need to. And then we're going to add engines. We'll add 1500s. Let's see how that goes. I think it's too much power than we need, but that's okay. We need more power because this weighs a lot. The only other thing we really have to do is propulsion and go to the next tab, depending on your resolution. FXT2 external fuel duct. So this is what I was talking about. So we're going to set up the staging here, and then I'll explain what happens, how this works, if you don't know. Okay, so the outside tanks, you can see the arrows pointing that way. This tank and this tank are going to supply fuel to this tank and this tank, as well as fuel this engine. So this engine and this engine are going to burn out much faster than everything else. You'll see so when we launch. I'll show you what I mean. And then basically what happens is all these engines, like this engine is still, this tank is feeding this engine, and same with this side, and obviously the main tank here is feeding the main engine. But because these outside tanks are feeding fuel to this one, it's keeping these two tanks and the center tank full. And basically what that's going to do is all of a sudden these two tanks are going to run out fairly quickly if we discharge them, but now we have full tanks on the outside, 2 full tanks, and the main tank will be full as well. And then that process will repeat. So now that's going to shed a lot of weight off the rocket. And then the outside tanks will do the same thing. There'll be 2 tanks, and then the one in the middle, they'll all be full. The outside tanks will drain faster because they're all not only fueling their own engine, but also refilling the tank constantly in the middle. And then we'll discharge those, and then we'll just have the main rocket. Okay, so that's kind of it in summary. So we have to do the staging. So we're going to want, basically the staging on the right, if you don't know, is the order of which things occur. So with the push of a space button. So the first space is going to launch all 5 rockets. Then the next staging, it has it listed as decoupling all the decouplers. We don't want that. We only want this tank and this tank to decouple first. So we have to get down here and see which struts, and it's these 2. So these 2 are going to decouple first, leaving just these 2 tanks and the center, and then those are, I just want to confirm this. Okay, leaving us just with the main tank full, and then another space will decouple the whole thing and leave us just with the lander. So ideally we can get pretty much to the moon with this, and that'll leave us with the small engine and the lander with the big tank. I put a bigger tank than you probably need. It's pretty efficient out in space, but better to be safe than sorry. So we're going to save this and launch. Okay guys, I noticed a couple of errors here that we had made before actually launching the vehicle. First of all, I made these tanks different, so that's going to cause a huge problem. Alright, we're losing a huge bunch of power, half the power or more on each engine, so that's good. The other thing we're going to want to do now is go into structural and go into the TT-188 launch stability enhancer and basically do that. Because with the new old version, you could pretty much just launch the rocket right off the ground. That's no longer the case. Let's go. Alright, I'm not a big fan of this version so far. Okay, so we are good. Now we're going to save and launch. Alright guys, so what we're going to do is follow the same protocol. This is my first attempt at post commentary, by the way, which is launching after you record, or sorry, which is recording after you basically record the gameplay and then commentate after. Wow, that was horrible. So we're going to basically launch the rocket here at speed up parts, so it's going to be hard for me to keep up. So basically we are launching, and you can see the tanks on the left are draining faster than the others. If you look, there's 2 that are draining faster than the other 3 because they are fueling the outside tanks, fueling the other tanks as well as its own engine. So they're going to fall out pretty fast. We're going to get up to about 9,000 meters here and turn towards 90 degrees and try and maintain that. As you can see here, I am speeding up the video a little bit just to kind of get things rolling pretty quickly. Otherwise, it'd be about a 45-minute long video. So those tanks have run out. We have dislodged them, and we're at about 6,500 meters now. So we're going to begin our slow descent to the right. You can see we're speeding up again. So basically, what's going to happen here is once you're going to get to 90 degrees and maintain that, and you're going to see we get out to the map, and we have to wait till we get the apoapsis, which is the highest point of your current trajectory. I want that to be over 100,000 meters. So you want to throttle down a little bit if you can. I kind of didn't in this video, but I gave myself way too much fuel to work with, as you'll see. Okay, so you can see now I am in the map. You can click on the bottom and open up the gyro ball, I think the nav ball, whatever you want to call it. The circle there on the gyro ball, the yellow circle with the lines going left, right, and up, basically point into, that's our orbital trajectory. If we want to get into an orbit manually, you can do it that way. I'm just holding 90 degrees and video's speeding up here. So the outside tanks are burned out. We dislodged them, and now we just have the main rocket full of fuel. So you can see we're getting close to 1,000 meters. What we're going to do is once we get to 100,000 meters here, you're going to see in a second, I am going to click right at the highest point there at the AP and go to add a maneuver, and then we're going to click on basically an orbital, the same looking thing that you can see on the nav ball right now. You're going to add a maneuver, and you're going to click on it and drag it outwards, and that's going to create a circle around the Earth in a perfect world. So you can see I've stopped at 100,000 meters. So add a maneuver, click on that, drag it out, and you can see you're going to see a line that circles the Earth. So you're going to do basically, it's giving you on the gyro ball now, you'll see the blue little target that appears. You're going to want to aim right in the middle of that, and you can see on the right of the nav ball there's a yellow line there. So you have a burn in approximately 1 minute and 50 seconds, and the burn will be approximately 1 minute and 2 seconds long. So it's just a controlled burn to get yourself into orbit. The orange line will be where your trajectory will be as long as you do the burn correctly. So we have begun our burn, and if you hold M, if you press M and open up the map, you will see that it appears. And so that orbit maneuver is what we're going to use to get pretty much anywhere. As you get further on throughout, like if you try to go to other planets and stuff, you are going to need other ones because they're not all on an even trajectory. The moon is a beginner's place to explore, as well as Minmus. Not Minmus. Yeah, maybe it is Minmus. I forget the other planet. Okay, so we have achieved our orbit, and you just right click on the little flower thing and that makes that disappear. So we are now in orbit around the Earth, and you can see there, pretty safe. I do a couple adjustments here. I just keep aiming into the yellow ball on the gyro ball direction and just do light feathers on the throttle. We're in outer space now, so the lightest bit of throttle makes a huge difference. And the periaps is where I'm aiming right now, is the lowest point, and it was just under 100,000 meters, so I want to get that over 100,000 as well. Okay, so we're good. So now in order to get to the moon, you can see our orbit's all fucked up now, but anyway, to get to the moon, you want to select the moon as a target, left click on it, set as a target, and then you're going to want to get the moon to about 45 degrees. I don't do this 100% correct here. And you're going to go to add maneuver again. Now you're going to drag the orbit all the way out, and you're going to see a little, what do you want to call that? Like a pentagon or like a baseball home plate shaped thing. And where it shows basically your location and then where the moon's location is going to be, since you have it set as a target. So you want to kind of get them to intersect, and if you have it right, you will be, you'll see that there's a moon encounter there. So again, same kind of thing. Your burn into the target. So this one's about a 25-second burn. And so now in an ideal world, you'll see at the top there's a moon capture, which is going to get us to where we are going to be captured by the moon. So you can see the blue line is our current trajectory, and it's expanding. The green line going around is the current orbit around Kerbal. Okay, so we're going to cross over. So you can see that I finished the burn, but I don't quite do it enough, and so I have to make a small adjustment. Again, aim in the go to the yellow. You're going to want to turn RCS on, by the way, which is the R. That's why I put the tanks in, because right now it's really hard to steer the ship. If you have a really small ship, it's really easy to make corrections. and adjust your ship, but with the big ass ship that I have, it's hard. So RCS with the R key, as soon as you get into space, you don't need it. So you can see now, you can see them getting closer together, and now we are in a position where I will capture, the moon will capture my ship, I guess. I'll capture the moon's orbit once I get past the moon. So you're going to see there's the moon. Now, you can see my orbital velocity slowing down because I'm starting to change orbit. So we're going to capture the moon's orbit right there, and you can see now, if I left it alone, we're still on a moon escape trajectory. So we have to make a correction. The periaps, which is the closest we're going to get, drag it, and you'll see the orange line now turn, and it's going to turn into an orbit. So we're going to have to do another manual burn here. And I try and get as close as I can, maybe 20,000 meters. The moon has no atmosphere, so as long as you're above the ground, your gravity's not going to pull you in as long as you're going fast enough. So again, we're going to make another quick adjustment. We've got quite a bit of time to wait for this burn. So aim into the blue, speed up time there, and you can see now we are close to the burn. And we're going to fire, and usually you want to fire around, ideally I did it kind of wrong there. You want to start firing with probably 3 seconds left of the burn. You can see that the trajectory is changing, and now we are in an orbital trajectory. So we could leave it now and orbit the moon, but like I said, I like to get as close as I can. Okay, so now we're going to make another adjustment because you can see the orbit's way off. So at the periaps, which is at 37,000, I am going to make an adjustment here and try and get even closer there. Zoom out. So 24,000 meters on one side and about 35,000 on the other, but I want to kind of even it out a little bit. 30,000, 38, good enough. Doesn't have to be perfect when you're trying to get to the moon. Like I said, if it's like Kerbal, you want to be above like 80 to 100,000 meters because otherwise the atmosphere might pull you in and then you're screwed. Okay, so we are going to aim in the blue. And basically what you're doing here is a retro burn. So you can see that you see there's another icon there, which is a circle with the lines going up to the bottom left and to the bottom right. That's basically a retro burn. So you have you're going in one direction. That means a retro burn means you're burning in the opposite direction. That's slowing down your velocity. And because you're on escape trajectory, you just have to slow down to get captured by the orbit, and that's basically what you're doing. You can do it manually. I'm just not good enough to do that at this point. So we're orbiting the moon now, as you can see. So I'm going to quickly do a couple spins around the moon here to show you. But basically now what we're doing is, for novices like me, I'm not very good at the game. You want to try and land on the light side of the moon because you have sun, and that it's going to help because you can see your shadow. It's above sea level. The where it shows on the top, where it shows how far you are from the ground, that's based on sea level, and so it's not accurate at all for the moon. Like if you land on a high point, it might say you're 5,000 meters away, but you might actually be on the ground. So what I like to do there, if you didn't see that, is I like to select a part where I'm going to land, where I'd like to land, and add a maneuver, an orbit maneuver, like I do, and basically bring it all the way back till it's a straight line, and that helps me gauge where I'm going to slow down. But really, you can do this at any time. But yeah, so it's beneficial to land in the light area because you can see your shadow, and that kind of helps give you an idea of how far you truly are from the ground. There is also, I believe in this version, some lights you can add to the bottom of the ship, which kind of help with that as well. So we could pretty much burn anytime we want, but for the purpose of this video, I am going to throttle down here, and you can see it doesn't take much really to throttle down to do that. So okay, don't do what I do there. I detached my lander, which is what you want to do, but I actually meant to, you're supposed to throttle off and then detach. I kind of got in a hurry. Luckily I was high enough in the air that I was able to, and I had an engine that I was able to kind of correct myself. So pretty much now what we're going to do is we're going to hang out in that retro burn area, because you want to burn, because right now we're still orbiting at about 70 meters a second. You want to slow that down so you're falling straight down, and then that retro burn will have us pointing straight up, and that's going to slow down our descent. So I lightly go on the throttle here. And yeah, so you can see our orbital velocity is next to nothing, and so now we're falling straight down. So it changes into a surface because now we're getting closer to the moon. I picked a good area to land on. As you can see, it's pretty flat. So press the G key once you're pointed straight up, and that will lower your landing gear, your landing struts. So you're pretty much pointing straight down. I'm not very good at the whole landing thing myself, but you're going to see we're going to go into a top-down view, a bird's eye view. And you should be able to see the shadow. You can see the shadow coming in right there. So that gives you an idea, but you can see we're fairly close to the ground here, and we're getting closer, and it says we're still 3,000 meters, so you don't want to be going by that. Okay, so now we're going to start feathering on the gas a little bit just to slow down our descent. I do this way too early, and the problem is you don't want that surface speed to get below 0, because then it goes back up again, and then that basically makes you start climbing again, as you're about to see. That I lose track of how fast or how slow or fast I'm going here, and I end up going back up in the air. It's not a bad thing if you feel like you're coming down too fast and you're not going to have time to slow down, but yeah, you basically some experience will get you better at doing this. So you can see here I bugger it up, but I don't do too bad. I have a tendency to start watching the ship and not looking at the nav ball. The nav ball is the most important thing, but we are coming down to the Kerbin in 5 meters a second or so. You don't want to be going much faster than that, otherwise you risk damaging the ship. So we have landed on the moon, and I've actually only been able to do this a handful of times. I was pretty good at it, and then I stopped playing the game for a little while, but hopefully I can start playing it again. So everything is good. I probably don't need to show you this, but I am going to show you. We can extend our ladders, just right click on them, and we have Jebediah with us, and I use a small capsule, so I'm only able to actually have one Kerbin with us. Kerbinite, or I forget what they're called. Alright, so we are on the moon, and I'm going to jump here, and you're going to be able to see that there is little to no gravity, but we're going to plant a flag first, which is one of the new features in some of the newer versions of Kerbin. I didn't do a custom map, unfortunately, or a custom flag. You can do that, you can draw your own, but let's just draw site name. Let's put VHU and plaque text. Hell yeah. So if I save this game and come back on another Kerbin, I can actually come and read that. There you go. Alright, so time for the fun part. So you can see I jump there and I get way up in the air. Little to no gravity. Some of the other planets have even less gravity, but we're going to go ahead and begin to head home. There, you can see there I fell a little bit. I was trying to jump up, as I do in some other games. I like to, instead of just climbing the ladder, jump up. That way it happens faster. And so we're going to board. I don't know if you guys can hear her meowing. I just got a cat, and yeah. So what I like to do here, if you're going from the moon, it took me a second to figure this out. Basically get back into a 90-degree orbit, and that's going to line you right up with the Earth, with Kerbin. And then you're pretty much lined right up, and then that makes it a lot easier. Okay, so it's kind of trickier. It's a lot more sensitive because you don't have atmospheric resistance. But the good thing is that it doesn't take much to get into an orbit around the moon, as you can see. We're pretty good. I still like to do it manually, although I could have done it pretty much automatically. Again, it's not going to be a perfect orbit because I'm not perfect at the whole flying thing. And yeah, so, but the orbit, see, like I said, only takes 8 seconds to get in an orbit here. So we're going to speed up really fast and burn. See, you want to burn like 3 seconds early. That's pretty good. Alright, so we are getting into an orbit around the moon. Alright, so we have lots of fuel left. We are going to run out as we get to Earth, though, because I like to dink around. So you can see you can't really just get yourself into an orbit, into a trajectory to get back to Kerbin yet. You can see the purple line is where we will be because the gravity will take us around Kerbin and not to Kerbin yet. So we just want to worry about right now getting into a Kerbin escape trajectory, and then we'll basically be orbiting Kerbin from a long ways away. I don't know the exact science behind it, and then we'll be able to make a correction then. So we are good. We're going to go ahead and begin our escape. We have to get from, just like we got into a moon capture orbit when we were leaving Kerbin, we now have to get into a Kerbin capture orbit. And we have to escape the moon's pull first and then get into Kerbin. You can see we're not going straight at the blue. We're actually starting to drift outwards to the right. And that's our current trajectory. We're orbiting Kerbin from a long ways away. I think gravity's pull has made a big change. So we're going to go ahead. Gravity's been affected big time in the latest updates. So we're going to go ahead and treat it just like we're orbiting Kerbin and going to the moon. Basically just lower the, make a maneuver and click on that same orbit icon and drag it inwards. And that dotted line should intersect Kerbin there at some point. So now we're going to do a controlled burn here, a short 14-second burn. You can see we have half a tank of fuel, so we have lots of gas. Other things you can do to make them more efficient is use like the nuclear engines and stuff like that. That makes that engine much more efficient. It's not nearly as powerful, but you'll be able to get more out of it. Alright, So we're good. Now I do encounter a bit of a glitch here. Quickly just retract the ladders. So I don't know if you see it here. I don't know if it happens really fast or not. But you can see there's a quick glitch, and then when I go to the map, all of a sudden it shows my trajectory is going way off to the side. So I don't know what to do, and I'm trying to think of ways to correct this, and I'm not sure. It says I got moon escape, but I'm pretty sure I escaped the moon already. So I figure, you know what? Like, I'm trying to make adjustments. I don't know what's going on, but I figure, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and speed up time, and it ends up correcting itself. And we are headed back towards the Earth, and we're going very fast. You can see 3,000 meters a second. I actually kind of worried for a second, but then I forgot we're going to hit the atmosphere, and it's going to slow us down. But for some reason, I don't know why, I was going to try and land this ship whole, but then I forgot about the fact that, like, I was trying to land this hole, so I was trying to do a retro burn, but then I kind of didn't factor in the fact that there would be an atmospheric resistance to slow me down tremendously. So I end up running out of fuel. You can see here I dropped the gear because I forget about the fact I'm about to run out of gas. But I run out of gas and I realize that I'm not going to make it. So not a big deal. Just discharge the capsule. And we are safe. So we're going to come down to Earth here, speed it up a little bit. And touchdown. Now, in a perfect world, I'd like to be able to land back at mission control. I've seen a few here. You can kind of roll around. I've seen a few videos of people that are actually able to come back and land right at the mission control. I'm not good enough to do that, but that's pretty much it, guys, for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day, guys. Peace out.